Hey, everybody, and welcome to Common Good Conversations, a podcast working to create deeper narratives at the intersection of faith and politics for the common good in West Michigan. My name is Nick Brock, and I am the Executive Director for Vote Common Good West Michigan. And co-hosting with me for now 4 episodes right in a row is the Mr. Shawn Skinner. How you doing, Shawn?
Oh, yeah. We're running a marathon today, boy. We're running a marathon.
That's right. We're doing it. Shawn, today we have the privilege of being in conversation with Bender Bones, an ordained minister from the Satanic Temple of West Michigan. Now, Bender gained attention last year for his public comments at an Ottawa County Board of Commissioners meeting to address Ottawa Impact's resolution at the time to become a so-called constitutional county. Now, his comments, they were really great. The sarcasm and wit directed right at Ottawa Impact was great. But what was even better in the video was watching the woman seated right behind him go through all these facial expressions of just shock and awe. So there was this article in the Holland Sentinel where they talked to Bender and Bender kind of giving this comment about the reaction in the room, and he said people aren't used to hearing that Satan has entered the chat. So Shawn, Satan has entered the chat in some way this morning, and we want to get into Bender's comments. But before we do that, I want to play the clip of his comments, because that'll just set the whole table for everything. So if I can do this all right and get this working, I'm going to
see how good you've gotten with this, Nick.
I know.
See how good you've gotten.
I was practicing last night. Share screen. Boop. Click that. There we go.
Before you share the screen, you might make sure nothing's there that you don't want us to see.
No, that never happens.
Hey,
all right, here we go.
You're getting good at this.
My turn already. Wow. It's just getting comfy. Good evening. My name is Bender Bones, and my pronouns are he, him. I am an ordained minister of the Satanic Temple, and I am here to speak on behalf of the Satanic Temple of West Michigan, which includes our members and ministers living within Ottawa County. In regards to the Constitutional County resolution, I want to thank the County Board and the Ottawa Impact organization for their declaration of intent to uphold the values enshrined in our Constitution. Our constitutional rights are our most cherished assets as United States citizens, and even more so as Satanists. The First Amendment states that Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion, nor restrict the free exercise thereof. This establishment clause is the driving force for freedom of religion in the United States and the greatest restraint for the encroachment of theocracy. The West Michigan congregation of the Satanic Temple applauds this commission for its commitment to upholding the religious freedoms for all. Our religious values include bodily autonomy, acting with compassion and empathy, and embracing pluralism. These values are core to our deeply held beliefs as Satanists, and we are always pleased to see these values upheld by governments at all levels. I observe that these city commission meetings begin with prayers and invocations. I am pleased that by swearing this oath to uphold these freedoms, it opens the door to make Ottawa County a place where Satanism will grow and thrive. As a sign of support, the Satanic Temple of West Michigan would like to begin the process of becoming involved with opening prayers at these meetings. The Satanic Temple of West Michigan is also excited to celebrate the holidays with the residents of Ottawa County, as we are always looking forward to opportunities where our goat display would be a fitting representation for the Satanic community. And we will always be looking out for opportunities for Satanism and other religious groups to work together to build up a stronger and more diverse community. In closing, I want to thank everyone in support of the Constitutional County Resolution for strengthening the rights and freedoms of Satanists of the Satanic Temple West Michigan. I am proud to know that Ottawa County will become a stronghold for Satanists of all type, and I am looking forward to seeing what the Satanic Temple of West Michigan and the municipalities of Ottawa County can do when we work together under the banner of religious freedom. Hail Ottawa County and hail Satan. Thank you.
Right.
All right, there it is, friends. That was Bender Bones giving his public comment. Gosh, you know what? I can't help it but just grin, smile, and laugh when I see that. Not only because was it just a direct rebuttal to what Ottawa Impact was, purporting to do, but just like to me, it represents pluralism and democracy, not democracy, but like the constitutional meaning for religious freedom, and to have it in that way, and to see people kind of just squirm in their seats, I was like, well, yeah, this is what America is all about. So, with no further ado, Bender
America's all
Bones,
about
welcome
pissing
to the
people
program.
off.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Welcome.
absolutely. Hey, Bender, before we get into that a little bit, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, I am a Grand Rapids native, currently in between Grand Rapids and Holland, so moving between Kent County, Ottawa County, so a little bit of a stake in kind of the inner city workings of both. Um, but I came from a small town area on the suburbs of Grand Rapids, small little Protestant family. Well, not that small. I'm the oldest of four boys, and mom and dad who are both school teachers, and yeah, just kind of grew up a fairly standard suburban life. Um, about my mid to late 20s, I started getting really heavily involved with politics and the concept of religious freedom and kind of alternative religious ideas. So I dove a lot into paganism, Wiccan, that kind of stuff. Found that it all was kind of just not really my thing, and more the seven tenets of the Satanic Temple kind of describe my life's philosophy of what I had been already doing for so long, that when I chose to actually call myself a Satanist and join the Satanic Temple, everything kind of just like locked in for me, because my philosophy and their philosophy was already kind of intertwined with each other. It's just the Satanic Temple gave me the words to be able to describe my philosophy and sense of altruism.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So we're gonna have to break this down a little bit more, but I want to go back just a little bit, Bender. Like, how did you make that move from growing up in this Protestant Christian family, and then moving to where you are now? Like, was there a moment or like a series of moments that you were like, I'm out, I'm done?
There was a lot of moments leading up to it. I can't really say that it culminated down to like one single issue or one single kind of cataclysmic moment in my previous faith, but just kind of chipping away over the years and over divine promises not being met, or things that I were told were the Holy Spirit, which like even a child me was able to figure out that this is just manipulation by adults, and different kind of things like that that slowly chipped away until I eventually fell into like the hard, angry atheist kind of sense. And a lot of people, when they go from being religious to atheist, there's an anger phase. And I, like most atheists, most people who will become an atheist, kind of fell into that and wanted to find ways to kind of push back against what we saw was the big problem for us in a lot of the organized religions.
Gotcha.
Yeah. What were like some of those problems then that really stuck out for you and others in wanting to make that move?
The first and biggest one was I was baptized twice under Christianity. I was baptized as a Lutheran and baptized as a non-denominational kind of evangelical type Christian. And it was after my teenage baptism in the more evangelical church is they brought us all into a room afterwards and began their practice of a glossolalia, which is what Christians will refer to as prayer in tongues or Pentecost. It's where they make all the weird, funny noises and stuff. Um, and that was kind of a situation where like I was toward the end of the room. I was one of the last people to undergo this rite or ritual, and I saw everyone else do it, and just like something wasn't clicking for me, that when they got to me, it should have worked on me. My hair was still wet from my baptism. If it was any question of my faith, like I think my wet hair was testament enough to where I was at that point. But just like I saw through the illusion. And I think that was like the first like major instance in my life where I realized like, hey, these people will lie. These people will deceive you to kind of like convince you of like their certain point, and it doesn't take much to really see through the lie. But you have to kind of be looking out for it, and not everybody is kind of programmed for that. I have always been skeptical and sort of like predisposition to like finding the cracks in the wall and chipping away at those until I have a blown open hole. So for me, it was very easy to find those chips in the wall when it came to like the Christian rites and um, religious ritual stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I can
So-
relate with that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Quick
Shawn.
question. You said south of Grand Rapids. What town?
Byron Center.
Oh, Bender,
From
holy
Caledonia.
cow. I went to Byron Center High School. I lived in Byron Center. I
shop's in
graduated
Byron
in
Center.
99. I'm guessing that was well before you. Did you go to Byron Center High School?
I did. Yes.
When did you
Graduated 2010.
2010.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You probably actually knew who my father was, but I can't really say without doxing myself. So,
Oh
but
my
yeah.
gosh.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Put it in the
Takes
chat.
turns.
Put it in the chat.
Yeah. All right.
I
I'll
won't
Yeah,
share it. I
you could
won't
do
share
that.
it.
We won't share it. Yeah.
I'll pop
Yeah.
that in for you.
Okay,
We're
so
all small
wow.
town Grand Rapids, southern Grand Rapids. So yeah, be interesting.
Okay.
And we don't want anybody doxxed. This podcast has no need for harming anybody.
No. This is just, boy, if I could
No.
kind of connect the dots here, that would be fascinating. But yeah, I grew up. I graduated from Byron Center in 99, and my siblings did. My younger siblings did after me, and even
I
so.
was 03 Caledonia.
Yeah. Okay. So that's
Okay.
really interesting. Yeah. So it makes sense, or Shawn saying it's relatable. I mean, we're living kind of in the same areas, bumping up against the same things, and
Well,
We have a church in every street corner.
yeah. Well, I mean,
You know?
it's a little relatable to me because he Nick knows this. I'm still in my spiritual journey or whatnot. I was not raised in the church. My grandmother was Christian, and my family's been, well, my grandparents and other members of my family have been Christian. But I say the word, he runs away. No. But I never went to church and stuff like that. Starting to go to church now. Bought my first Bible last weekend, which is the graphic novel version.
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah,
that's what I
have
thought
you
when I
seen
saw
that?
it.
It looks
I
like
thought
a
it is.
comic book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it brings
That
some
is
fun
cool.
to it.
Yeah.
So,
There's some neat stories.
But growing up in years, I've always kind of felt a little the same way of looking at the cracks and going, well, this and that and that and this, and question this and question, all of those type of things, and everything. And I'm a big metalhead, so in the formative years of the teenage years and getting into bands like Dimmu Borgir and Norwegian death metal and black metal and stuff like that, you start to question things sometimes when you're developing and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I can relate with that.
Yeah, Bender shaking his head in affirmation there. Bender, so, people, especially in West Michigan, know about the religion of Christianity, right? You mentioned there's practically a church on every street corner. I mean, the street that I live, just within a 1 mile radius, there's like 10, and that's not exaggeration. So people know about that religion, but I'm going to guess that not many people know about the 7 tenets of the Satanic temple. So, what are those 7 tenets?
Oh, well, you want me to go through them, or kind of a general synopsis of what we're looking at?
A general
We'll see how long each one
synopsis.
takes.
Okay.
Yeah, so when you said you find alignment, I think, or you find agreement with the 7 tenets. What are those?
Okay. Yeah, I'll go through a few of them. So the first one is our first tenet of the Satanic Temple is that one should strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures within accordance to reason, which is, I think it makes a lot of sense. Like, act with compassion and empathy is just goodwill, like treating others equally or treating others with compassion. I mean, it's self-explanatory toward all creatures, which is a concept that doesn't just include us humans, but we should be treating, our cats and dogs, our livestock, our ducks in the park, like all creatures. But then there's the caveat of within accordance to reason, which says that there are exceptions to this. If somebody is abusive to you, you can end that compassion and empathy. With all creatures, if it's a mosquito that is going to bite you and possibly give you a disease, it is acceptable to swat it. If it is a wolf that is taking your livestock, you can hunt that wolf. There's that accordance to reason. So it's basically just like the general rule of like, be good to everyone, but hey, you don't have to turn the other cheek on this. So that's our first tenet. I think that's like the big like catch for a lot of people is they see Satanism and they see that first tenet and they go, what? Like Satanism and compassion and empathy? Because you would think that these two things would be diametrically opposed, but it really isn't. Our second one is the struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over any laws and institutions. I think that's agreeable. I mean, it doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you're on, like justice is an important concept. And sometimes what is just and what is moral or what is legal is not always the same thing. And that we should constantly be striving to find what the right answer is and accept that simply because a law might state that something is just or unjust doesn't inherently make it true. So that's our second tenet, and it's just kind of the concept of how we will view justice moving forward. Our third one is pretty self-explanatory. One's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone. Basically, like keep your hands off my body, off of my reproductive system, off of my children who might want to transition to a different gender identity or anything like that. Like we are the masters of our own body, and no one else should be able to interfere with that. The third tenet's kind of the biggest draw for a lot of people, especially people with uterus, really like our third tenet and kind of use that as their religious exemption to, like, if there's a government overreach that extends to how people may treat their bodies, the third tenet is kind of the get out of jail free card in that kind of way, to varying degrees in how that works in court. That was third. Fourth is the freedom of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forego your own, which is basically just respect other people's freedoms. Everybody has our, like we could look at our Constitution, our Bill of Rights and such, and we have all those listed freedoms. If I do something to take away your freedom of speech, I would lose mine. So like if that could apply to like if a government wants to shut down what the Satanic Temple might be saying, we could use that same criteria to shut down what another opposing religious group might say. Like if a law that you pass to hurt one group will ultimately hurt others as well. You're going to, because we all need to apply to the same standard. Ideally.
AKA don't be a hypocrite.
Exactly. Yes. And a big thing, especially in Satanism, that we look at is the freedom to offend, which is kind of like that's what that whole Ottawa County commission speech I did was kind of about, is I went out there and did something that was seen as offensive, but was my constitutional right to do so. I sort of weaponized the offensive nature of what I was saying and use that to show the hypocrisy in like, hey, you want to spread one religion? Well, here's the door open to them all. Here's the last group you ever thought would step in through these doors. So that's number 4. Number 5 is, I think, my personal favorite, but number 5 is belief should conform to our best scientific understanding of the universe. We should take care never to distort scientific fact in order to suit our beliefs, which is pretty self-evident. Like we listen to science, we need to listen to the best scientific explanation of the world that we have. And we have to understand that science is an ever-changing thing. What we might have as a scientific answer today, that could change tomorrow. And we need to be able to adapt to that and accept that science is a process, not an end result. And I think through this 5th tenet, we sort of can learn and understand that, like, we need to listen to the best advice and that we don't know everything. That's why we're on a podcast and not in a laboratory.
Right.
Number 6 is people are fallible. If one makes a mistake, one should do their best to rectify the situation and resolve any harm that may have been caused. So it's basically, we screw up, we make mistakes. If you do something wrong, apologize and make it right. Right? I mean, isn't that what we all want? I make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. We've done stupid stuff that have hurt other people, and we don't have to treat that like the end of the world. There are ways out of that. You just have to be willing to apologize, make it right. And not every time you have to, because you can look at the first tenet and say, well, like, this person might actually deserve the bad thing that happened to them, so I don't need to apologize. But I'll get into that in a second. But our final tenet is all these tenets are guiding principles to inspire nobility in thought and action. The second part always throws me off. The virtues of compassion, wisdom, and the pursuit of justice should always prevail over the written and spoken word. Basically saying, if you know what the right thing to do is, and it contradicts these tenets or laws or anything like that, if you know what the right thing to do is, do it. Kind of just plain and simple is like these words are just words. Like, we know in our heart what's right and what's wrong, and it's up to us to be able to decide that. So those are our 7 tenets. A big thing with them that a lot of people seem to mess up, at least from what I see, is they want to view individual tenets in a vacuum, where the tenets only work if you view all 7 of them together. So like, you can kind of nitpick and pull one tenet out and say like, oh, well, this tells me to view things this way, but they would ignore the others. Like, for an example, when there was kind of the vaccine hysteria over the COVID-19 vaccinations that were going around, people were coming to the Satanic temple, and people like me asking for religious exemption from the vaccine. And these weren't people who actually needed it. These were more just like anti-vax conspiracy theorists, not people with actual health issues who would go to a doctor for such a thing, but people who were just essentially trying to get out of that vaccine situation by trying to quote that our third tenet is that, but then they were ignoring the fact that this would also ignore tenet 1 and tenet 5. They pick out one tenet and they say, this is the tenet I want to follow to get an exception. When we say, well, tenet 1 and 5 kind of nullify your point here. You can't just look at one tenet that you like and ignore the others.
Yeah.
And had a bit of there's some people not super thrilled with that, but we stand by our decision to not provide religious exemptions for vaccines without like a medical practitioner's approval on such a thing.
So was the vaccine permitted or not?
Highly encouraged.
Okay.
All of our events when COVID happened, the Satanic Temple, West Michigan, all our events in person shut down, went to online only, and pretty much stayed that way until about spring of 21. And then it was even like proof of vaccination to join our events. It was very strict, but we also do have a lot of people who do have like their own health problems and who are, who have like immune disorders and such. So like, we do have to actually be really careful within our group, because there seems to be a lot of people drawn to us from those sort of groups with those kind of issues, because we go out of our way to take care of them.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So Bender, I have just maybe one more question on this topic here of what you're defining like the 7 tenets of Satanists, and then just one more question before we move into like your public comments. But you describe yourself as a Satanist, correct? Is that
correct?
Okay. So then, what does that mean? I think I've heard you definition? Or I've read that you said it's not the worship of Satan, but using the biblical character of Satan as a kind of figurehead to then do something else. Can you describe that for us?
All right, you looked into it well. Yeah, so Satan to us is sort of he's a mythological character. We don't view Satan as being a literal, actual character, but he's an interesting character within mythology in the same way that Zeus or Odin are fascinating characters within a mythology. To the Satanists, Satan is a character that represents rebellion from arbitrary tyrannical authority. So when I say I'm a Satanist, it means that I kind of take into my heart the spirit of the adversary, of the great adversary that fights against tyranny being the Yahweh character in the Bible who banished Lucifer from heaven. And you get the whole war that kind of was like in Paradise Lost and the aftermath, which is Revolt of the Angels. So yeah, it's more of just like reverence for a mythological character that we think has values that are important to us. In the same way, like a person, like I wear like an inverted cross to kind of show that. In the same way, like a a Norse pagan might wear a Mjolnir, like a hammer of Thor, and they would look at the character of Thor for his values of strength and power and like these different things that would represent Odin. We do the same thing, but for the character of Satan.
Okay, Shawn, any other question on that, or before we forge ahead?
So kind of using the kind of the caricature of Satan to be the entity, because if you were to actually use it as an actual person or whatnot, then you'd have to agree with things that happen in the Bible to make both exist. If you're using Satan as a person or whatnot from the biblical sense of the Bible, you would have to give credit to the other half of the Bible. So not using that, just using the character of it, you could possibly almost insert whatever you'd like to be it.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, like we're all atheists who, we believe in Big Bang cosmology. Generally, we is like the royal we, but like we believe in Big Bang cosmology and evolution and stuff like that. So we don't really need the supernatural elements from Christianity or from any religion really, but we can extract the story elements and say like, hey, this story means a lot to us.
Yeah.
Yes.
And a bit like in the same vein of an anarchist in a way.
I suppose
against the hi sweetie, how are you?
Yes, we kind of have just a philosophical sense of a need to push back against arbitrary authority. So, and I guess, yeah, I think I see what you're saying.
I'm not the greatest at putting my words together on occasion, but
you're wonderful.
You are wonderful, Shawn, and you just did it. And just to be clear, when Shawn said, "Hey, sweetie," he wasn't talking to Bender. He was talking to his daughter, who just walked in.
I thought we were becoming really close friends.
I tried to put the mute button on. She came in earlier. I'm supposed to take them rock climbing this afternoon, and they're on me. They're like, "We ready?" I was like, "Hell out of here."
Bender is a great guest, but not that great, right, Shawn?
Oh,
sweetie, yeah. All right, so
I'll get there.
So
Bender,
you never know. This is
You said it. You never know. I want to get into like what compelled you to go to the commissioners meeting. A lot of people go for just a ton of different reasons, right? In the meeting that you were at, like it took 4 hours until you had spoken. Yeah.
Yes.
That's why you made that remark like, I was just getting comfortable, but really it's huge sarcasm because you've been sitting on your ass for 4 hours, just like a lot of other people. So what brought you to that meeting, and what point did you want to deliver to Ottawa Impact?
So what basically inspired it? Actually, I planned on coming to that meeting. I had no idea about it days before. The night before, somebody went into our Satanic Temple West Michigan Facebook group and just said like, hey, I'm just throwing it out there. This meeting is happening, and kind of just like threw in the agenda for the meeting into just a Facebook comment. And I read through it, and I had already been keeping track of what was going on with Ottawa Impact and that whole fiasco over there. So I was already enraged and wanted to try to find a way to push back. And I saw kind of like the meeting agenda for it, and I knew what they were voting on for the whole constitutional county resolution. And then I took note of the meeting beginning with a prayer, and I kind of like made the connections.
Spent 4 hours with a little notepad and just kind of followed and watched everybody.
A little bit. I watched as much as I could. That got mind numbing toward the end there. Oh, geez, 4 hours of petitioners. That was, people needed to wake up. I think I helped with that. But so yeah, I learned about it the day before, and then I kind of on a whim just agreed, like, all right, I'm gonna go speak there. So the next day I woke up, I started contacting some of the people in like the more like upper organizational TST to basically like say, hey, this is what's going on in this county. I want to give this kind of speech. Had sort of an idea. We do it. It's kind of like what I did is we would call it the Rick Scott rally, which is one of the first things that TST ever did was in Florida, basically coming in and saying like, hail Rick Scott for, what was it, like some kind of like prayer in school thing, or Rick Scott in Florida did something combining religion and government in like a really kind of twisted way. And the Satanic Temple came out and basically showed their support for Rick Scott because now the Satanists get to do all this new stuff in Florida. And that was kind of like the inception of TST, was that idea. So I had kind of taken that idea and expanded on it for Ottawa County to say, hey, you're doing prayers at these meetings. You're going to uphold the Constitution like in a very strict way. That just tickles me. So I got an idea for y'all. So yeah, I sat down and penned the idea, and it was just this idea of just going full tongue in cheek of just like saying how excited I am to be able to bring Satanism to this county, and we're going to have Satanists in the streets putting up holiday displays, and just this whole kind of idea of balancing this thing where like I know what I'm saying is going to freak out a lot of people, but I'm going to deliver it in just the friendliest, like, hey guys, I'm so happy to be involved. Thanks for having me. You know, that tongue in cheek kind of thing where it's like, I know what I'm saying and I know how I'm delivering it. And I think it was very well done for being a speech that I think I wrote in about 20 minutes. So yeah,
Yeah,
I pulled that one together.
yeah. In my opinion, you did. I mean, I view it, if rightly understood, as kind of this performance, right? You were there. I could pick up on you were being like totally respectful, courteous, and neat, but you know, kind of wanting to do more with that. So I saw it as a piece of performance art, and as soon as you ended, I was like, that was great. That was genius. I knew what he was doing, and it was needed. If only there were more people to speak in that way, and like kind of like this creative nature. I mean, a lot of the public comment, whether they're for or against what Ottawa Impact is doing, can be, you know, really boring. And then just some people aren't able to put things together, and that's fine. But you know, there are people who are able to, you know, draw attention in.
Is there any fear? Now this could be a little obscure. Any fear in a pushback on something like that? Stupid little example that I have a little bit is when I was in high school, I was in videography and movie making type of stuff. And they're like, you got to make a music video. I was like, okay, we're going to do Marilyn Manson, Beautiful People. There was nothing in the music, in the lyrics, that they could say no to. And they were like, nope, we're not, this is a school, we're not doing Marilyn Manson. I was like, there's nothing that's going to follow. And then all of a sudden that project got turned right into, we're doing a patriotic music video. And the group that I was in, suddenly we couldn't be together. The other students like, you guys can't be together. You can't do Marilyn Manson. And now it's patriotic, you know? So that's like, because in a way it kind of sounds like, well, okay, well, I want to show up. I want to ruffle the feathers a little bit, but a little bit in the context of, you guys don't understand what you opened up. You opened up Pandora's box. If you're going to make it inclusive this way, you got to make it inclusive to everybody. And now anybody who wants to can go, hey, we're gonna make this a thing and this a thing, and you know, type of thing.
Yeah. So as far as pushback goes, and I'm pulling up an article right now. MLive actually just produced an article yesterday about Ottawa County and the whole way that they're handling prayers and invocations. So there obviously was like pushback on that because there was that pastor, Jared. Hang on, I'm pulling it up.
Yeah, it's a friend of the program, Jared Kramer from St. John's
Yeah.
Episcopal Church.
Yep, I'm in a group chat with him. We've talked very little, but yeah. So like obviously Ottawa County pushed back because they were doing this whole thing where they wanted their own pastors to come in. They basically wanted to filter and allow their approved pastors, and then Pastor Jared kind of did his whole lawsuit, which is still ongoing. This whole resolution from Ottawa County isn't going to change that, to my understanding. But so like they obviously did try to push back against them. And we, the Satanic Temple West Michigan, have kind of been holding back and allowing this to go through with a Christian pastor first before we start being too aggressive about what we're going to do. But actually, since the publication of this MLive article, which outlines the proper method in which Ottawa County will be taking petitions for opening invocations, as of yesterday, I have my team on it, and we are currently in the process of applying for an invocation from Ottawa County. So are we expecting some kind of pushback? Absolutely. But, you know, that's a battle I think we can have, because like if they want to take this to court, we'll play ball. And the question is, do they want to go to court again? Because, you know, Pastor Jared is I'm sure probably going to keep on going through with this, because the whole resolution is a very obvious veil or shield for them to try to make themselves look honest when the Ottawa Impact was being, I think, very deceitful in the way that they handled these opening invocations.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was one thing that I wanted to address, because you made that a point in your public comment, saying that, hey, we would like to begin the process for opening prayer at these meetings. And then Jared has been with that, and now he at some point, or he has been allowed through this new procedure process for the board to give prayer, the invocation at these meetings. So as I understand it, Bender, you are planning at some point to participate in this.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Because, one thing here is, there is this point of religious discrimination, or the exclusion of others. And one point I want to make here is that with one of the commissioners, she's being currently recalled, Commissioner Lucy Ebel, during a press conference to address that matter, she made this statement 3 times in a row where she said, "Jesus is Lord over Ottawa County. Jesus is Lord over Ottawa County. Jesus is Lord over Ottawa County." And I was just perturbed, because that is an elected official in front of government property and on government property, advocating for and privileging the Christian religion over all others, over 300,000 plus residents of Ottawa County. She's just saying that for the county, and then even more so for her district. So it was really making clear that not only Commissioner Ebel was privileging this and wanting to move it forward, but Ottawa Impact was supportive of it. And then the Ottawa County GOP, they were like, yeah, we stand by Commissioner Ebel fully. But I had this separate discussion with somebody else from the community. There was a priest, a monk from the Buddhist community. So there are 2 Buddhist communities in Ottawa County. One has origins to the country of Laos, and one has origins connected to Cambodia. And I met with one of the leaders of the temple, and I said, "Hey, did you know about this? Did you know that you have your elected officials saying Jesus is Lord over Ottawa County?" He had no idea. And then I just went on to ask him, like, well, how does that make you feel? It's clearly it makes this exclusion or separation of others. So, all that to say is, whatever people think about a religion, whether it's the right religion or not religion, they should be at the table, because that's what the vision is set forth for America and written into the Constitution. So that's my small rant. I don't know, Bender, do you have anything to add on that, or Shawn?
Bender?
Shawn, you got anything? Because I'm about to go on a rant. I'm about to kind of unload and expand on this a little bit. So all right. So kind of moving out of Ottawa County, let's look at Michigan as a whole and our state representatives. One particular out of Oxford, Michigan, is a Josh Schreiber. So he is among the most extreme right in the GOP. He is one of the individuals who actually voted against raising the age of marriage in Michigan to 18. So this is a person who voted basically in favor of child marriage. So this is the kind of individual we're working with.
Say that again. He.
Voted against the bill that raised the age of marriage in Michigan to 18 to ensure that anyone getting married in Michigan is an adult. He was against this and believes that minors should also be able to be included in marriage. Anyway, so during the holiday seasons for the past 5 years now, the Satanic Temple West Michigan has built a straw goat. It is a Yule goat from like the Scandinavian culture. We are kind of using that with our own before the Satanic Temple established Sol Invictus as our holiday, as our like winter solstice holiday. We were using Yule in Michigan as our observance. So we would build a straw Yule goat that's black and uses a real goat skull, ethically sourced real goat skull, as the head, and we would place this monument on the Capitol grounds, usually along a menorah and a nativity scene. And for years we've done this to really no issue at all. But if you guys are aware, the Satanic Temple in Iowa did something similar where they put up a display in their rotunda this year, and that display was actually attacked by a former U.S. soldier, I think a U.S. Navy he was. But anyway, the statue was attacked and decapitated, and kind of has made this whole big national scene over the idea of monuments, of religious monuments on government grounds. So the same thing kind of happened here in Michigan, where we put up our Yule goat for the 5th year in a row, and for the first time, we actually had state representatives voice against this. The letter was written to the Capitol Commission from 8 GOP representatives who believe that our display shouldn't be there and that we're advocating for evil and immorality by having a Yule goat. That we explicitly made a speech when we put up this Yule goat saying that this monument represents diversity, plurality, and inclusivity. Like, that is what we dedicated that monument to. But we have GOP representatives suggesting that it is a monument of hate and evil and all sorts of nonsense in that sense. But
where did you put that Yule goat?
Northeast Capitol lawn at the Michigan State Capitol.
In a nativity scene?
Not in the nativity, but next to, within about 20 feet. I don't know. The nativity people have been moving further and further away over the years, but we're still in the same lawn. So yes, we have a display up on the Capitol lawn that we've been doing for 5 years, and it got the attention of a few representatives. And one of them is Josh Shriver, as I mentioned before, and he's a state representative from Oxford, which, if you remember, Oxford is that's the city that had that school shooting a couple years ago, where that 16-year-old. So like, this is a community that needs help. This is a community that wants representation, that is going to make sure that something like Oxford High School never happens again. And their representative is freaking out on Twitter over a straw goat, and essentially using his government Twitter page to proselytize and say that he works for God, not for man, as a public servant. And even now he's going so far as to saying that he wants to strip the tax exemption status from non-theistic religions, which is very obviously targeted toward TST because we are a non-theistic religion. But that will also go on to affect the Buddhists, the Taoists, and the Jainists. These are all groups that are going to be affected if a tax exemption status is stripped. It's hurting multiple people. And this is a state representative saying, I'm going to violate the separation of church and state and say these religions are okay, these are not, and my criteria is whether or not you are a theist. So it's like breaking out of Ottawa County. Like, we're seeing this more on a statewide poll. And I think Josh Shriver out of Oxford is going to be one of those names that's going to be an issue as far as keeping a separation of church and state in the state.
Yeah, really important. And to that earlier point that I made, creating that, or not creating, but making clear the separation of church and state. Otherwise, we are just having what we call a vote common good, Christian nationalism, people ruling the country from their solely from their theological beliefs and their sectarian groups. And that's just not the way things are to be done according to the Constitution. And I don't think according to the ideas of the founding fathers. Bender Bones, I know you got a heart out here. How can people connect with you and connect with your work? Where should they go for that?
Well, I try to be sort of active on Reddit and other like Michigan forums. So I try to like put what I'm doing out there and usually hoping for a little bit of media attention to help push that a little bit further. Ultimately, for people who are interested in the Satanic Temple, I would recommend that they look up the Satanic Temple's official website, do the reading, get the resources that you need from that site. You know, like everything that people would need to get started is going to be on that website. Um, and just learn. And if you decide that something like the Satanic Temple is right for you, you can find our Facebook pages, our Discord pages, find a lot of resources from the individual congregations. No matter where you are, we have congregations in every state. We have 3 in Michigan. So if you're in Michigan looking to get involved, like there are definitely ways to do that. But I have to say, like, if you want to do that, you have to search for yourself. Look us up on our official website and figure that out. And just like TST, we do not proselytize nor recruit. So it's kind of a big thing to like, if you are right for us, you're going to find that out on your own and you're going to come to us. I'm not going to reach out to you and say, hey, come join TST. You're going to find TST and then you can come to me and be like, hey, I think this is right for me, and we'll figure it out from there. So as far as like trying to like get people involved, yeah, I want people to see what we're doing, and I want obviously support from my communities and stuff. But generally, if people want to get involved and want to be a part of this, I encourage you just to do the research you need and come and find me.
Well, you heard it from Bender. Come and find him, and he's giving you the tools to do so. That's Bender Bones, an ordained minister from the Satanic Temple of West Michigan. Bender, we really appreciate your time this morning.
Absolutely.
So much. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. And I'm actually just gonna be getting ready to pack up and go to Lansing, where the Yule goat that I was just discussing a few minutes ago. We are setting that on fire this evening at sundown. We are going to be doing
31 degrees out, so we could use some heat.
Yeah, it'll warm it up a little bit. But so we do what's called a destruction ritual with that goat. So essentially what we do is we create like effigies, or allow people to bring what we call artifacts of destruction, which are objects that represent pain and suffering in their past. And they're going to get to shove it inside the goat. I'll let you guess where they shove it in. And we'll essentially set it on fire, create a big fire display of it. It's beautiful, it's emotional, and people use this as an opportunity to try to let go of the things in their past that harmed them. So it's that happens at sundown tonight. Sorry, it's a private party, but that's kind of a fun little thing that's going on with the fate of our goat.
I suggest washing your hands after you shove your,
I suggest washing your hands all the time. But yeah.
Just general hygiene. It's great. That's great.
Thank you so much for having me. Shawn, good luck on your faith journey. I think you seem like you're coming from the right place. So I think your faith journey will be really good for you. So best of luck on that. And both you guys, thank you very much for having me today. This has been really enjoyable.
Yeah, it
Thank
has.
you for joining us.
Yeah, Bender, you can click out the meeting, and we'll just carry on for and close things out.
All right, hail you guys and hail Satan.
Cool, thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Well, Nick, what'd you take away?
Oh, you beat me
I beat you to it, didn't I?
You beat me to it. Man, I don't know.
Pressure on you for a change.
Honestly, and I feel very, very giddy.
Wow.
I talk a lot with people, in Christian circles. I am one myself, and that's just my story for a long time. A lot of the conversations that I'm having right now is about confronting Christian nationalism, what that looks like. As I mentioned here, like Christian nationalism is this idea where elected officials, they will privilege Christianity over all others, and then they want that to be the overriding means for how people view and do government. But we know that, with multiple churches in a 1 mile radius from where I live, that's just not, the people can't even agree what church to go to and how to do that. So there's that. But then seeing that be displayed, this Christian nationalism, or this kind of, hey, we're going to privilege and stand up Christianity, and we're going to put you down, even though we're operating within a constitutional system. Like, I just get excited for folks like Bender who say, like, no, I see your hypocrisy, and I'm going to do something about that, because that makes me think about these two Buddhist communities in Ottawa County. Like, what is being done to them indirectly is saying, like, no, you are put beneath us, and that's just not how things should be done in America. And it's an ongoing experiment, and it's an ongoing way of activism, as Bender and his group is doing. So it just, I don't know. I get giddy when I see folks out there being like, hey, we want to do better for our democracy, for America. Boom. And you?
Boom. I've got I wouldn't say I'm as nearly as giddy as you are. I've got mixed feelings across the entire gambit, it feels like. And I think it might just be a little bit of growing up and everything. I had similar friends to him through, that was very questionable of everything and different ways, and played around with Satanism and stuff like that. But what I always find when it comes down to things like Satanism, it always feels like there's got to be some publicity throughout the whole thing. Example, doing the goat burning in Lansing today, and that's why I specifically asked, like, well, where'd you guys put it? Well, we're 20 feet from a nativity scene, and that's also kind of a tall tale to my thing with identity politics and stuff, where it feels like sometimes certain groups want to have the attention, and they do things to make sure they get the attention, but they don't want to say that's why they got the attention. If you get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting pressure on us because we did the goat burning or whatnot. Well, where'd you do it? Oh, we did it by or inside a nativity scene. Mm-hmm. Why are you putting it there? Which is one thing I didn't ask, which I should have asked. Why are you putting it there? And my thought would be, well, we got to put it there because it's going to get some traction for publicity. Mm-hmm. Opposed to, well, I put it over there on the corner because that represents my beliefs, and I don't want it to be maybe scowled by bad publicity with something else, and it falls in the category of no publicity is bad publicity. Mm-hmm. in the music world. If you're not making any album sales and you get some sort of bad publicity, like Ozzy Osbourne biting the head off a bat in the early 80s, guess what? That's in the newspaper, and everybody just learned a little bit more about some artist or something like that. So that's what I mean by, like, I've got some mixed thoughts on it, just because on the one hand, they opened up a huge can of worms by going, we're just going to focus on these religious groups because those are the ones that we want to do. On the other, and some people do vote on people that share their religious beliefs and the morals that they believe those religious beliefs go with. I want to go with that guy because he shares the beliefs and things that I do, which I think is completely relevant. And then on the other hand, it's going, well, if you're going to make it inclusive to this, now you got to make it inclusive for everybody. You know what I mean? And that's what he's doing. He's pushing the boundaries, going, well, if you're saying it's yes to this and this and this, it's got to be yes to the rest of us. And their what was it? Their rule number 4, rule number 5. Well, if you say it can't be to us, then it can't be to everybody else. If you're saying it's for them, then it has to be to everybody. You know,
right? And I think he's making his. Clearly, he. I don't think he shied away from it at all. Like he's out there, like at the county commissioners meeting to make a point. They're out at the Capitol to make a point,
and,
right?
and I think he said that as much too. You know, he did say, anything that gets us publicity. I believe he said that, 3/4 of the way through. Whatever. If we get publicity by it, the more the better. So not shy about it.
Yeah, and I don't see there's. These are what religious groups do all the time. These are what nonprofit groups do all the time. Some better than others. Now with Bender's work, he is, in my understanding here, just trying to really activate, or not activate, but maybe activate and then agitate the public to make them think more about what, the Constitution and the First Amendment that says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. And I just pulled out my little pocket Constitution.
I saw you reading that right up the...
So
I'm not arguing that stature at all.
Mm-hmm.
I was just vocalizing that it gets me mixed feelings on the pushing one way for a result as far as credibility and getting noticed. And I guess I fight a lot with the do you want to be something, or do you want to get publicity for something? Do you do it this way because you're going to get publicity, or do you do it because you want to do it, and it's a counteract? The publicity is counteract, a result. Are you doing it for one thing for the other, or are you doing one thing and just happening to get the other? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of makes me feel like at the end of the day, when you get to where you want to get to and everything's accepted, is it ever really accepted, or are you going to be okay with it? Or do you feel like you always have to have that hill to climb to continue to push something? I feel like that gets into a whole different can of worms, on moving forward on something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But yeah. That's another discussion for another day, I think.
Yeah, it is. There's, with all these podcasts, and I think especially with this one, there's a lot to get into. And, I think what makes it unique is that it is it's a topip that's just totally different. And
it definitely is for us.
Well, yeah, or for others who are like that woman in the video. The listener couldn't see it here, but there was a woman in that YouTube clip when Bender was speaking, and she was just completely out of her skin as he was making these comments. But I guarantee that if Bender was talking about advocating for Christian prayer, there would be the most uproarious applause in that room. He would be having handshakes, and they would ask him to run for office. So,
I completely get that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying here, but it's just, I think that, I don't know, there's just that.
There's a lot of layers to this onion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Guess what, Shawn?
I got to take the kids climbing, don't I? Oh,
no,
shit.
You gotta listen to,
sorry. Oh, darn.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared for the music intro banging me in the eardrums.
Oh, come on. By the time you got to get used to this by now. This is like the 4th episode in a row.
Yeah.
In a highly...
It's definitely been a gambit today. It's been...
What?
I think we left on a high note for, as far as these might not be released in the same order that we did them today. But I feel like we left on a pretty interesting note for ourselves for the day.
Yeah, for sure. For me, a really interesting conversation. So, hey, that is our program for this, I guess for today. For us, it would be the morning now. You've been listening to A Common Good Conversations, where we work to create deeper narratives at the intersection of faith and politics for the common good in West Michigan. Be sure to share this program with your family and friends, and you can do that by listening to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. You can also find us on Facebook at Vote Common Good West Michigan -primary and help us push past the 1,000 followers if you give us a like. And finally, you can subscribe to our weekly newsletter at Vote Common Good West Michigan. Till next time, friends, be good. And Shawn is giving the double thumbs up with a mouth wide open, big smile. We are out.
See ya. Thanks for the emoji caught there, you know.